Alright, whenever you're having an off-the-chain gathering or a kick-ass party, you're going to have some uninvited guests. But what if your party crashers happen to be vampires? And not only do they want to freeload off you for free food, but they want to make you the food as well. And that's the situation that happens in the new hit by Ryan Coogler called Sinners, where vampires crash the party and they just simply don't want to leave. And so we're pretty much going to cover this in this edition of Pete's Art Talk Movie Talk. And we're going to take a deep dive into the mythology and lore of vampires. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink. Just make sure that it's not blood, because this one's going to be good on this edition of Pete's Art Talk Movie Talk. So come on, let's get into it. I hope everything's good. I hope you're doing good. Yeah. Basically, this is my Art Talk Movie Talk. Yeah, I got my cup of coffee here now. I got my favorite mug here. People probably going, hey, Pete, why don't you get a new mug? So this one has, I know this one has a little chip in it, but basically it's sentimental. One of my favorite mugs. I'll have the heart to get rid of it. All right. So with that being said, you know why we're here. We're going to talk about the movie Sinner, or Sinners, I should say. Excuse me. The new Ryan Coogler movie. Now, going into this movie, I gotta say this. I was impressed with Ryan Coogler with the first Black Panther movie. Pretty much the guy has talent, and he's full force with this new movie called Sinners. Now, the views on this movie is my opinion and my opinion only. You can take it with a grain of salt, or you can listen to it wholeheartedly, or you can take it to the park and feed the squirrels with it. Either way, that's fine. But again, it's my opinion and my opinion only. Okay, with that being said, I really enjoyed this movie. It actually encapsulated what the stories of vampires should be. For a while, vampire or the movies of vampires had gotten away from the core of what it once was. And no offense to Twilight, but it's going to come across offensive. But when I watched the movie Twilight, I didn't really see the creatures or beings in that particular movie as vampires. I saw them as like harpies or banshees or something like that. And those are creatures who have similarities to vampires, but again, not vampires. I'm glad to see that the whole mythology or stories of vampires rooted back into the original storyline again. Or really, that's what this movie Sinners is about. But this movie Sinners is about so much more. Pretty much this movie has layers, but what I really enjoyed about it, the storyline is good, and it just proved that you don't need a lot of over-the-top, heavy, crazy special effects and a big balloon budget or whatever to make something good. If you give the people what they want, they're going to come back. And what people are looking for is good storytelling, a good movie, and just fun entertainment, where pretty much basically when I was watching this movie, I can't give any spoilers, as you already know, but I am going to talk about it and how it relates to various other things. But what I really enjoyed about this movie, it gave me those Quentin Tarantino Dusk to Dawn vibes, but without being Dusk to Dawn, okay? Now, a lot of people probably got to say, oh, that's just a black version of Dusk to Dawn. No, it is not. Okay, basically, Dusk to Dawn is its own thing. This movie is its own thing. To me, Sinners is a period piece, plain and simple. I'm gathering from the weapons that I see, me being a military man, from the weapons that they showed in the movie, and also too from the vehicles and the building. I would have to say around the late 1920s, the characters mentioned that they had fought in World War I, and it was a little bit of time after that before World War II occurred and everything. And so they were well-seasoned veterans. And so I'm just gathering that from, again, the clues in the movie. And also, too, pretty much basically, it looks like this movie takes place during the Flapper era or whatnot. It's this book that I read called The Great Gatsby. I think Leonardo DiCaprio did a movie about The Great Gatsby. And basically, the flappers were the rich or upscale New Yorkers, the people from the upper part of the United States that embraced jazz, and just rich elite people that just enjoyed having fun. They were basically, look, we're rich, we want to just enjoy our money. Okay, and during that time, when segregation was pretty much the cornerstone of America, speakeasies were these gathering places. Black people, white people, and people of various other races can just join together, have a good time, dance, gamble, enjoy the upscale, rich nightlife. Basically, this was a society that really wasn't race driven, it was financially driven, where it's like, hey, if you're rich, you're in. If your money's green, hey, you can come in here and give us some of it. That was how the speakeasy establishments got started. The characters that's played by Michael B. Jordan, which is, I believe, Smoke and Stack, they pretty much probably spend a little bit of time in the upper state region and visit some of these clubs like speakeasies and all that, and want to establish something to that nature, just a nice jazz and blues club, their hometown, home state. Basically, these guys have been battle hardened. They just want to come back to their hometown, get the money that they save, have a place that where people can just relax, have a good time, and just enjoy themselves, and they can make a nice buck and just live the rest of their days in comfort. So that's all they want. It's just the simple life with entertainment. Unfortunately, though, in life, sometimes when you just want to relax and mind your own business, sometimes you're going to encounter people that won't let you relax and mind your own business. That happens in this movie. These characters, before I continue with this, as we already know, the movie is about vampires. Now, I want to break down what separates this movie from other vampire movies, or a creature that has immortal properties. Basically, it's a parasite with superpowers to a degree. And in a lot of vampire movies, yeah, they can do all the cool stuff like fly, and bullets can't hurt them, and they can live hundreds of years, do all this stuff that you see in various other movies and everything. But there's a price for that. You got to read the fine print when you become a vampire. Number one, you got to give up your humanity, period. That means you can't eat human food anymore. That means, of course, walking in the sunlight. We already know that and everything. But also, too, is basically ever see yourself or a reflection again, because you can never see your humanity again. When you become a vampire, you can become the most beautiful woman ever seen. Only one problem: you will never be able to see yourself and everything. And then also, too, last but not least, your soul is damned to hell for all eternity, which means that the devil owns your soul, period, point blank, in a discussion. And those are the things that's not mentioned in the fine print when you become a vampire. Now, I grew up reading a lot of supernatural and sci-fi. That was my favorite genres. With that being said, with the folklore of vampires in the Blade movies, it was these people wanted to become familiars. Now, in the old stories, they weren't called familiars. They were called a ghoul. Now, the ghoul was pretty much the assistant of a vampire. Sounds cool. Not so much. Basically, bottom line, when you agree to get bitten by a vampire and become a ghoul, you pretty much agreed to become its puppet. That's all you are. You probably won't get all the cool shit that comes with being a vampire, like flying or being super strong or being able to float or any of that other stuff. You know, you're probably going to get immortality, and that's it. Or you're not going to get the super jumping or whatever, like Blade or whatnot. Only thing you're going to be is just basically a puppet that the vampire can use to walk around in the daytime. Because basically when the vampire is asleep in its grave or in the ground or whatnot and everything, it's going to pretty much put its mind into your body, using you to exist during the daytime until the sun goes down, and then it regains its consciousness back again. But again, the vampire won't tell you that, because here's the deal. Vampires are devils. And whenever you're dealing with the devil never gives a fair deal. And pretty much it'll convince you to agree with that deal. And once the deal is done, hey, whatever happens after that. Basically, here's the sucky part about being a vampire is number one, you can't eat human food anymore. That's over. And then also, two, all the pleasures of being a human, that's out the window. Only way you can probably experiencing, like I would say, erotic pleasure, something like that, it has to involve blood or the fixation of blood or the consumption of blood. And that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. When you actually look at the whole concept of vampirism, it kind of sucks. Yeah, and not literally suck as a pun, but literally it doesn't sound very good. Is what I like about Sinners, it's not a race trope. It's because this movie takes place in the South or a state that's predominantly black, and these guys want to set up a club during a time when everything was heavily segregated and everything. And so obviously the only people who can go to this, who goes to this club or bar or whatever, is going to be pretty much black people. It was just the time and period and the location that it happened to be in and everything. Like Sinners could easily been a story of bluegrass bar in North Carolina, South Carolina. It could have been a country, all white country western bar in the middle of Oklahoma during the 1970s or something like that. It could have been pretty much location, all Asian location in part of Chinatown, New York, or whatever. Impacted what pretty much people are presented or what characters are presented in this particular story. And then also, too, what I like about this movie is basically the white characters are vampires, but they just didn't make them white because they want them to be vampires. No, when you look at the story of Nosferatu or Bram Stoker's Dracula, vampires are heavily rooted in European folklore, which means that basically Count Dracula, which is based on Vlad the Impaler, which is a character, real life character that the story of Dracula was based on, was a monarch, basically was a cannibal that liked drinking and consuming blood and eating the flesh of his enemies and everything, which pretty much evolved into the story of Dracula. And so I like the characters who pretty much played the vampires in this movie. You can tell that these were people that were from different parts of the world, even though they were all white. One character had like real Irish, Dublin-like accent, and then another character had more like a French-style accent, and then there was another character that had almost like a Eastern German type accent. So you can tell that, okay, whoever transformed them into vampires went to various parts of the world to do this. No telling what other places that these characters went to. And the main vampire character, he had me calculating a timeline of how old he was. And I'm just sitting there thinking, God damn, how old is this guy? Because he's talking about pretty much the time he witnessed the events of the Crusades. And then also, too, he mentioned the Spanish Inquisition, which took place, I don't quote me on this, but it was, I think, like the 14, maybe 1500s. I could be incredibly off on that, but it was a crazy long time ago in history, which would probably put this guy at like 400 or 500 years old, or maybe a little older than that. Basically, bottom line, it just proved that this character has been roaming around causing hell for like centuries. It's a lot of folklore there. There's so many points that this story focuses on, but one of them is loss and gain. Like, of course, I talked about what you lose as a human and then gain as a vampire. But the vampires, what I like about in this movie is they're not your typical, with the teeth coming out and, just being mindless and stupid. They're smart, they're intelligent, and they actually know how to sell why you should become a vampire, or pretty much goat you into why you should become a vampire. And one line in the movie that resonated with me is the main character tells one of the twins, he says, you live as a human, but you're treated not like a human. I'm like, wow, okay. So, and he's saying, hey, if you let me turn you into one of us, hey, we're all family here. There's no race, there's no ethnicity. We're all just vampires and we're all having a good time. He really sells on that. And if you think about what vampire really is, again, is a demon and devil being part of a group or whatnot. But the problem is you have to be careful of what kind of group you become or what you're going to turn into. It's all right to change, but know what you're changing into. That's the most important part. And so it kind of reminds me of the Borg from Star Trek, where I think the Borg Queen is talking to the android Data, and she mentions to Data where okay, you're struggling to balance between man and machine. You're trying to balance between android. You become part of the Borg collective or become a Borg, then you're just going to be part of us. You don't have to deal with any of that. But not knowing that the Borg is a creature that operates just like a vampire with a hive mind. You don't think. It's the head one that does the thinking for you. You're not going to have any individuality. You're not going to have any free will. Those are the things you're going to have to give up. You're not going to have any just freedom in general. So what they're really selling you as freedom is really a trap to being a prisoner and to a curse, so to speak, and everything. Just like the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. They're pretty much these drones that only do what the Night King tell them to do because they have no free will. And the Borg from Star Trek worked that way, and vampires work that way also because each one of these particular creatures that share a hive mind pretty much have to conform to one higher mind or one entity that's in control, and it can't overstep the boundaries that's been set before itself. And that's the part that the head vampire is leaving out. But there's this one woman in this movie, I'm just going to call her the medicine woman, that knows pretty much what these kind of beings are, what they're capable of doing, and what they want. And she also, too, knows how to fight them. And so with that being said, is a vampire has to be invited into a dwelling. Okay. And so pretty much basically bottom line, before a vampire can enter any dwelling, it has to be invited. And then also too, the dad in the movie, he mentions something, and which is true. This wouldn't have happened if we were in a church. He was trying. That can resonate two ways. If they wouldn't in the club and all that dancing and drinking and all this stuff, the devil wouldn't be around. You can take it in that direction, but also too, you can take it in the direction of the folklore vampires to where, look, if we were actually in a church, a vampire couldn't even come near this place. As soon as a vampire see the crosses or pretty much the Holy Spirit or whatnot that's in the church, it wouldn't even come near, and we wouldn't have to worry about them being at the door or window or anything. So that could be taken both ways also, and that part made me laugh. And that's another thing I like about this movie is it has comedy, but the comedy is very short, is very low because this is a serious movie with serious topic. And it's taken it as such, gave me this feeling like I was actually watching a Quentin Tarantino movie, even though it's not a Quentin Tarantino movie, it's a Ryan Coogler movie. It did give me those Dusk to Dawn vibes. It did give me those vibes of when I first saw The Lost Boys for the first time. It did give me those vibes of when I saw Underworld for the first time. It actually, gave me those joys and tingles that I remember when I first saw certain vampire movies, and it just pretty much flows and it just gives, the good energy and good vibe. And it's just entertainment in general. So on that note, when this movie come out on Blu-ray or DVD or whatnot, I would be buying it. Yeah. Even though it's a different time period, reason a lot of people are resonating and relating to this movie, it's unapologetic to what it is. It all boils down to where pretty much the more things change, the more they stay the same and everything. I'm going to give you a gift bag of vampire movies that I really want you to watch, because these are, pretty much a lot of them are forgotten gems, but they're awesome vampire movies. And I figure that they're worth checking out, and they stay true, and they stay very true to a lure of vampires. And it's really good. The first one is Eddie Murphy's Vampire in Brooklyn. That movie's awesome. Basically, check out Blackula. Now, Blackula, it's a 70s black exploitation movie and everything. And it's like a play on Count Dracula, but instead of Dracula, he's Blackula. But that movie's good. The comedy is good. But it also, too, takes a turn to seriousness, as with James Woods, and a movie Vampires, and that's what it's called, Vampires, as with James Woods, and it's really good. And it basically, bottom line, takes the concept of the vampires and trope and pretty much mythology of vampires, and does a Spinal Tap and turns it all the way up to an 11. And of course, the Underworld series. That series is really good, so watch all the Underworld series whenever you get around to it. It has werewolves in it also, but basically, bottom line, it's pretty much plays vampires the way that they're supposed to be played, and werewolves as they're supposed to be done also. So it gives a chef's kiss to both those particular characters or genres and everything. And of course, Aaliyah's Queen of the Damned. That's a movie I really don't want a reboot to. I've been hearing rumors and myths about Queen of the Damned reboot, and please don't touch it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Done, and it just pretty much basically adds a new layer and gives new life to the characteristics of vampires. And then another series, or pretty much franchise that's really good, and that's the Blood Rain series. Now, Blood Rain started out as a video game. I used to play the game way back in the day, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. Blood Rain, I remember the game. I played it on PC. It's a franchise, so pretty much basically check out the Blood Rain franchise. It's really well done. And then Abigail, which was a movie that I think came out last year or whatnot, but she's the Russian ballerina who's a vampire, and that movie is awesome. By all means, please watch Abigail. I guarantee you will enjoy it. And then pretty much last but not least, I love this particular movie, is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, which this movie actually launched the acting career of Anthony Mackie and a few other high caliber actors. And it's really good. It's a really fun movie. It's alternate history about how Abraham Lincoln became such a well-renowned and well-respected president and everything. So pretty much, yeah, check out this little trick-or-treat bag that I just gave you of my favorite vampire movies, and, pretty much watch them at your leisure. And so pretty much that's my little rant about the movie Sinners. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Well, I'm going to leave you with my little spill. If it ain't good, don't do it. If it's bad, don't say it. Take care, guys. God bless. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Now that's what I'm talking about. But don't forget, the snake bit the other leg also. Check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out. No, walk it out, no, walk it out, no, walk it out. I can't.